This is the magicwordpodcast.com.
We were here on the fourth day of the final day of the convention here in New Orleans, actually over Mother's Cafe, or Mother's whatever it is. It's one of my favorite places, and whenever we checked in the hotel, you heard me earlier on saying this is great. They're so nearby, and they're so good. And in fact, she's coming with my breakfast right now. Nope, it's not. She's going with somebody else. But this is just a fun place, block away from there. But just wanted to talk a little bit about yesterday. We had Tina Leonard and company spoke on a panel discussion. Then we had David Charvet and Bruce Calver were talking about the new book that was released. And then last evening during the happy hours, and I say hours, that was like 6 to 8, was the formal cocktail hour, thereby wearing their finery and regalia and everything. As it was a autograph time because they just released the book. Everybody was buying that and taking pictures and autographing the book because there were so many past national presidents who were there, as well as, of course, the current president. And then afterwards had the banquet, which was included with the price of your ticket here this year, and that was digestible. So we then had the traditional long-winded speeches that politicians usually do. And then after that, we had Michael Dardant, who was as Cousin Mikey, or I think it was, just doing his Cajun thing and having a couple of other guys who he introduced that was very fun and funny. And then we kind of took a break because they had to actually completely reset the room from the tables and chairs and everything back to the original chair way that was seated for the evening show. I was busy working on the podcast to give you this update, but so I was unable to make it to that event. But I've got Charlie Randall with me right now, and Charlie's going to talk a little bit about what did I miss then last night as far as the show that Michael had hosted.
Oh, the burlesque show. It was burlesque. It's PG-13. I'm not sure I'd have brought a 13-year-old there, maybe 14, but I don't think you'll ever see that again at a convention. It was good, though. It was a very good show. I thought it was very well done. Just not your typical magic convention event.
The thing you remember were the girls in the pasties and their butts hanging out, as opposed to, I guess, the magic. It kind of.
Oh, was there a magic? No, there was. There was a guy.
It's usually how juggling, is. Exactly. But in this case, it was the burlesque ladies.
Dante was the magician. He's very good. He's definitely a street performer. Very, very good. He's got the expressions, all that other stuff. Excellent. The piano player was fantastic. The girls were fantastic. But
now, do they just dance, or do they have hula hoops, or do they have a pole, or what?
They danced. I mean, the main
striptease.
Right, it's a striptease basically. Yeah, the main dancer had some feathers that she used with hers. That's kind of the thing I think of as for the burlesque striptease type thing and all. And that was really well done and all. They're all very attractive ladies and very good dancers and everything and all. No complaints from me.
and Michael Dardant was the host.
Yeah, Michael's excellent. Michael's a great host. He's obviously done this a lot, and he has all the great lines. And it's very good. So.
I had the grits. He did not have grits.
All right.
Gritless.
Thank you.
I see that must be from up north, huh?
No.
He's actually from Louisiana.
And you don't eat grits? Something wrong with that picture. Y'all enjoy. You can tip at the table, baby.
All right, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Man, I'm going to have a little bit of this white coffee, a little café au lait.
Those are biscuits.
That is
those
some
are
good.
Lungs.
Those are good size. Those are larger than the pasties they had on last night, I think.
Hey, that was interesting. The kids loved it.
That was past national president Bruce Calver just walking by there. With a K. That's right. And so what else was, what happened then?
There goes the other president.
Yep, there goes John Stirk, who's our current president, walking by.
But one of the best parts of the show was probably the finale. Meadow Perry does a bubble act that's just fantastic, beautiful. Just I really enjoyed it. I'd seen her before once on video, but never in person. And
That was your first time, right?
to see her, yeah.
And did she do the thing with the window where she pulls it down, blows the bubbles out?
Yeah, she sure did. And I've always had fascination with bubbles. When I was in college, one of those things I did was thin films, which was bubbles basically, and studying some of that stuff. So I had an interest from that point of view. But yeah, the beauty of it is just, and she does a great act. Oh my goodness.
She was fully clothed, I assume. It was not part of the burlesque. That could have been a different component.
But just a good example. Hey, you can leave your clothes on and still entertain people. Anyway, no, beautiful. Great finale for the show. It's a good show. Very good show. Late, but good show.
Mm-hmm. And then today, again, being the last day, I'm not sure what all we're going to be having, but I believe Ian Kendall's going to be starting off here at about 9 o'clock with his boot camp, and then later there's some sort of a king cake surprise.
Yeah, who knows what that is? They said bring your poster, so at least be that. So yeah, that's going on. And then, there's another close-up show. Man, the close-up guys have been excellent. And then tonight, Tina Leonard and company doing their show. That'd be great. I've seen all those guys before, so I'm kind of curious to see if it's what they've done before, if there's new stuff. Arden James. I love Arden James. The guy is just unbelievable. And Tina, I love. Mike, I like. Jorge Blas. Man, it's going to be a show.
Christopher Hart.
Christopher Hart. How could I forget him? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the hand. So that'll be a good show. Should be a good day.
We haven't seen Arden James in a very long time at a convention.
That's right. I don't remember the last time I saw him. They were talking about, I'm sure that he was here in 98, and that's the first time most of us saw him. I remember seeing him, and this is this one part he does with a kid where he's
Picking him up, like taking off his
look, he's picking up by his ears, but he's not. And then he's swinging him around, and I remember just being flabbergasted. Like, all right, how's that not a lawsuit waiting to happen? But it's hilarious. Oh my goodness! And Arden goes out of his way to talk about in the talk yesterday. He's like, hey, the kid's not hurt. Trust me.
Yeah.
But I mean, it looks like, man, I hope his neck doesn't break.
Well, Arden, although has not been seen at magic conventions, he does work at Magic Castle quite frequently, and he works a lot with Mike and Tina. But anyhow, great day. Our food is here. Coffee's hot, and so are these big biscuits and the grits and everything. So, till later, that was Charlie Randall. This is Scotty out from Mothers. We had just finished an excellent lecture here this afternoon, or this morning, I guess, actually. We had David Charvet to talk about some of the classics of magic and then give us a demonstration and show how those things can be updated and put into your own repertoire. I also had spoken last evening then with Craig Mitchell, who came from South Africa, and we were talking about, did he come the farthest, or did the mates who came all the way from Australia come the furthest? And so maybe we'll find out right now, because I have with me Peter Rogers. Hey there, Peter.
Thanks, Scott.
And you're all the way from which part of Australia?
I'm from Sydney.
Okay, so you're kind of on the East Coast, so it's not as far as going from Perth, I guess.
Yeah, there's a performer from Perth here too. He would have come further than us, unless he went
the other way.
Unless he went the other way, but I'm sure he didn't. I'm sure he came across the Pacific like we did.
Yeah. So which is further, actually, South Africa or coming from Sydney? What would be your guess?
Look, it's 6 or 1 half a dozen of the other, I think. I from South Africa, you would come back the opposite direction. I
guess that's right.
Yeah, so yeah. I think we might be further than South Africa.
Now, I see you at these conventions quite frequently, particularly the international conventions, the IBM. I assume you went to the IBM then last week? Or
I was at the IBM last week, and I'll be at Magic Live in 10 days or whenever.
And after this is over, you're not going to Abbott's? You're going to go where?
No, look, I like Abbott's, but the problem I see with Abbott's, I'd have to learn to drive on the wrong side of the road because you virtually need a car to go to Abbott's.
True.
And I haven't got any friends that were coming that would do the driving for me. And I was also a bit worried that the quick change, Abbott's finishes on the Saturday night, and I don't want to miss the start of
on Monday or Sunday.
Magic Live on the Sunday night. So I have done it before, but I'm not sure how good with all the cancellations of flights and everything after after the pandemic. I did it before the pandemic with Graham Etherington from Melbourne, and he did the driving, and we caught a flight from Battle Creek, and we got there Sunday afternoon about 3 o'clock, I think, in Las Vegas. So.
Well, I'm going to roll the dice here this year. I'm going to see if I can make it, because I've got a car I'm renting in Chicago and then driving over to Colon and then driving back early Sunday morning to catch a noon flight from Chicago. And since there's a 2-hour differential, I should be arriving around 2:30 Vegas time.
Yeah, that's roughly what we did. And that's got to be, about 5 years ago, before the pandemic anyway.
Yeah.
And it worked out.
Well, you're right. There are some issues in right now, I guess, with the flight delays and different kinds of other things. But why is it that you come over to these conventions? Do you go to Blackpool also and other conventions?
No, Black, part of the reason is it's summer and it's winter at home. So, But Blackpool, I'm not going to go to Blackpool in the middle of winter from an Australian summer. And it's the same with the two conventions that Vanishing Ink put on.
Magi Fest, it's in winter.
Fest and the one in the session. They're both in winter, so I'm not leaving Australia. And the point is, there's just one convention at a time. So when we come here, we're 3 conventions in
a month.
About a month, yeah.
Right. And you should, I was going to say stick around a little bit longer, but probably that'd be another whole month to go to the TAOM, because it'd take longer. Yeah.
No, I have been to one before, or a couple of them years ago, but not this year.
So you have come to, I know a lot of the U.S. conventions. They still have conventions in Australia, obviously.
Not as many as we used to. Since we had a small business of magic convention after the pandemic, which was partly sponsored by New South Wales government, which is the state that I live in, and they gave us money. They were offering money for businesses that were hurt because of
struggling because of the pandemic,
because of the pandemic, and we thought, well, magicians are none of them could perform, so we didn't think we'd get it, but we applied and they gave us a few $1,000s, so we put that on, and we're doing it again this year. So,
when's it going to be this year?
It's going to be October.
Which will be your summer, or the spring, I guess.
Leading into summer, it'll be spring, yes.
So it'll be a good time to come down there. Is it going to be in Sydney or whereabouts?
Yes, it's going to be in a Sydney suburb, and the following, we're only doing it for one day, and it's on a Monday. You're going to ask me the date. I think it's the
early
10th,
or late?
Okay. I think it's the 10th of October, but don't quote me on that. And the following weekend, Barry Govan, who often calls himself Barry Gavan in America, he is having a Ballarat convention. He lives in a little town called Ballarat near Melbourne, and he started putting on conventions, and it's the 50th anniversary of his first one. So he's putting on one this year.
What kind of attendance do they typically get?
It'll be only small. I don't think you can fit more than 60 people in the venue for that. It was a close-up convention. He started putting on these little conventions. And in Sydney, we might get 100 people, but it's only a one-day affair. So.
Okay. That's why I was wondering about the one-day convention. I mean, that the government's going to be offsetting some of that, but you still only get about 100 people.
I think so, yeah.
So what have you enjoyed so far about the S.A.M? I assume this is probably your first time in New Orleans?
No. The S.A.M had a couple of conventions back about 20, 30 years ago, 25, 30 which were great conventions. Back in those days, I think there were over 1,000 people at those conventions. So it's a bit different to now.
I remember one of the conventions back then. We had the show at the Sanger Theatre, and I remember John Calvert was there, and also I think Seymour Davis was playing this pipe organ that came up from the floor, in the theatre there. Does that ring a bell with you at all, or the evening shows? Anyhow, the S.A.M's got a good, rich history of great places of where they've been. This has been fun. So what have you enjoyed the most so far with this convention?
I think probably the favourite was the close-up show, which I think was yesterday morning, and I can't pronounce his name.
Paul Wilson.
That Paul organised, but the final act I'd never heard of. Or
John Carlos.
Yeah, from well, originally from Italy, but now I think from Spain. I just thought, I'd never heard of him, and I just thought that it was a sensational act.
It was. It was Cards to Pocket that was amazing.
It just kept on going. I've seen other people do various Cards to Pockets.
Yeah, Steve Valentine,
and all those people, but this just kept on going. It was. I've never seen anything like it.
Because there were signed Cards to Pocket, and then he would say, okay, well, there were 4, wait a minute, there were 5, and he was showing each one being signed. He was pulling out like 7, 8, 9 cards.
Yeah, and they all appeared to be the signed cards.
Yeah.
And I think Craig Mitchell was the person on stage, and he'd signed them, and he assured us later that he hadn't pre-signed any, and he was just as mystified as us. They were all the cards that he was producing seemed to be signed.
Yeah.
And there were a lot more than 4 coming out.
That was pretty good. We still have this evening's show to go. That's going to be, I think this afternoon there's some sort of a king cake special or surprise. I don't know what that's going to be.
No idea what that is.
Either. Did you get a copy of the book, by the way?
Yes, I bought a copy of the book.
It's kind of a fun autograph party last night.
Yeah.
You had a chance to look at it?
Not really. I was pretty tired last night, so I...
Yeah. What'd you think of last evening's show, by the way, then, too?
Well, I saw the show here. The very late show I didn't see. I only saw the show at the banquet, but I enjoyed that.
Right. With Michael Dornant, that was like Michael's cousin. It was kind of funny, Cajun cousin. And it was a nice evening, and tonight we're going to be going back over to the Jesuit High School and seeing a great stage show, since Tina Lender's going to be the guest of honor. I think that's great, having her as a guest of honor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You've seen her many times before.
I think I've seen all the acts before tonight. So, but they're all good acts, so I'll enjoy that.
Yep, it's going to be fun. Peter, thanks very much. Always good chatting with you, my friend.
Thank you, Scott.
And also, from you had 2 other guys came from Australia, not just you. I mean, Bill came.
Bill Walsh and Andrew Gill from Perth. Now, there's 2 Andrew Gills in Magic in Australia. So,
really?
I've known one from Melbourne, and I thought, has he moved to Perth? When there was Andrew Gill in Perth, name kept cropping up, but they're different people. They're not related. They're just 2 people, same name, both into Magic.
Yeah. I've got several listeners in Australia, and I love hearing from them. They send me some emails from time to time, and some people also who have become friends of the Magic Word and given donations and pledges. So I thank all of you guys from Dalnunda for listening, and I appreciate also, Peter, you spend a little bit of time. It's always good to spend time with you guys.
Okay. Thanks, Scott.
So the Magic Word Podcast. That was Peter Rogers. Scotty out. So we are on the bus right now. You can kind of hear the motor in the background, and we are heading over to the Jesuit High School, where we're going to be seeing the final night show. And I'm here then with another friend from Australia. You just heard a while ago from Peter Rogers, and now we're going to have Bill Walsh. Hey there, Bill.
Hello, how are you today?
Fantastic. So you were over here, of course. You always, I see you at these conventions. You always attend the national ones when they can all bunch together. That's what Peter was saying.
That's right, yeah. Well, sometimes we have to come over twice in a year, but it's better if we can come over once and do 3 conventions.
Right.
So we're here for 5.5 weeks. We've got in IBM, we've got in S.A.M, and we'll go to Magic Live.
I know sometimes that you have attended Abbott's in the past, but because right now that's going to be pretty tight, you're not making it this year.
No, not this year.
So what are you going to do during Abbott's?
We're going to New York, and we're seeing Speakeasy, we're seeing Azzy Wynn, we're seeing the Tannen Show, we're going to visit George Schindler. So we've got a full 5 days already lined up with Magic.
When I see you at Magic Live, I want to talk again to see how Azzy Wynn's show was.
From all reports, it's great. I mean, everyone tells you you've got to see the Azzy Wynn show. Yeah. And it's not cheap, by the way.
What's it run?
It runs between $167 to $200.
And how many seats? Do you have any idea about how many people seats?
I know we're in the second row. Peter would, look, I'm guessing, but it's not only about 30, I think.
Yeah. So that's why I guess they're hold on just a minute there. Okay, just want to clear that beeping noise. Though apparently the door was still open while they were moving.
That was the problem, yeah.
So you're going to go see Aussie Win show. That sounds like it's going to be really
Yeah,
fun.
it should be good. But I think they'll all be good. As he wins, Speakeasy's got a good thing. We're going to Monday Night Magic. We're doing the show in Tannins.
Right.
So there's a lot in New York, and then we've got a lot booked in Las Vegas as well.
What shows are you going to see?
Well, we're going to see the Siegfried and Roy House.
Oh yeah, that Paul Stone's putting on.
Paul Stone's putting on. Yep, we're going to see that. We're going to a show that's a close-up show out of town, and they won't even tell you where it is yet. You've got to wait for a couple of days before.
It's going to be a surprise, huh?
Surprise place,
cool.
Yeah.
Who's putting that on?
You've got me. Peter did the booking, so I really can't tell you.
Well, it sounds like that you got some good plans here between now and then.
Yeah.
Now, are you sticking around after the Magic Live is over, or are you heading back to Australia?
No, we've got one more night in Vegas, and we're going to see the Penn and Teller show. Penn and Teller are doing their recording for the Foolish.
For the Foolish show.
Yep.
So you're going to see the Foolish.
Yeah, we've got tickets
recording.
for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we go back to LA for the Castle. I'm going to the Castle 4 nights: Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Peter doesn't leave until the Wednesday, so he's got an extra couple of nights.
Wow! So it's all magic. Now, when you get back to Australia, you're going to be you do some magic back there then too?
Yeah. Not a lot these days since COVID's really slowed everything down.
Has it really?
Yeah.
I remember talking to Tim Ellis about how that they had locked down during COVID different provinces or states there.
Yeah.
And if there was one report, they'd shut everything down. Went back to masking again.
The Victoria was the most locked down state in the whole world.
Wow.
It was incredible. They had the longest lockdown of anyone in the whole world. And by the way, it didn't save them. They still had a lot of deaths. Because they did the wrong thing with the quarantine. They didn't put them in quarantine places, they put them in hotels. Oh. And it leaked out, and they had lots and lots of deaths.
Oh my gosh. Well, we were just talking before we started the recording over here a little bit about this convention, about the S.A.M. convention, and I tend to agree with you. Obviously, every convention has its problems, and here they've had some technical difficulties with some of the sound and the video, and they haven't fixed it from day one.
That's the biggest problem. They haven't tried to fix it.
Yeah. If they have tried, they haven't fixed it.
Well, they haven't. Yeah, I mean, it didn't look like they tried because the same things have been happening every show, and because there's a lot of close-up stuff, you always miss the crucial point. It always seems to go off just when he's doing a special move.
Right. As far as lectures go, I think David Charvet was the only one that actually was teaching. So I missed this afternoon's session with R. Paul Wilson. Was that a lecture or was that a show?
It was two of his friends who did the pro close-up show yesterday, and the Spanish guy and the other Scots guy who won the FISM
Nardini?
comedy Cardini.
Nardini.
Yeah, he won the FISM Comedy Award back exactly 20 years ago today, as it happened. Yeah.
Well, this morning they had Ian Kendall, who gave a workshop that was pretty interesting and fun.
Yeah.
He's just a great guy.
Yeah, and I've seen him do it before at Magic Live, and it's always been interesting.
Mm-hmm. And he's also been at the Genie Convention. You ever attended the Genie Convention?
I've been to the whole three of them.
Okay. Yeah, those were good conventions. Man, they had just such great talent as well.
And that's what I noticed about this one. If you went to IBM a week ago, there was a lot of talent. I don't think there's much talent here, to be quite honest. It's a bit disappointing. And a thing that we always do at home when we have a convention, we stress to anyone we bring out that during the convention they have to mix with the conventioneers. Here, I haven't seen anyone mix. You just don't see anyone.
No one hanging out and kind of...
No.
That's true. You know, I know that, of course, Tina Leonard and the group that we're going to be seeing here in the show this evening was working at the Magic Castle until through Sunday. So they couldn't come in until Monday, so they got in. And then, like this afternoon, they had to go do tech. And so they really haven't been too accessible nor available kind of rubbing shoulders.
But in the time they've been here, I've had 2 or 3 little talks with Mike.
Yeah, Mike Caveney.
Yeah, I know him quite well. And as a matter of fact, when we go back to LA, we're going to go out to his house. And
see Egyptian Hall. Yeah. Well, overall, I think it's just been a good convention. Again, like when we sat down and you were asking me how it's going, I just saying it's good to see people like you, and I think that's what this is all about. The convention,
that's the
our
good
friends.
part. Yeah, you make friends and you remain friends with them.
Sure.
But the thing that I noticed here is that there's a lot of people who used to come aren't here.
You don't mean because they died off? They just stopped coming?
Well, I don't know whether it's a bit of both, actually, but people like Dan Garrett and his wife Carol, they don't come anymore.
And he's a past national president,
yeah,
too. Yeah,
and Gary Hughes was a past national president.
he was here. I saw it.
Oh, did you? I didn't see him.
He was at the show. In fact, he sat next to me.
Okay. Well, I missed him because he was president last time we were here in Orleans.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that being a great convention the last time we had that in New Orleans. It seems like that there were people who were coming who were not performing. I remember sitting and chatting with Max Maven and John Carney, and they weren't performing. They were just hanging out.
Yeah,
It was cool.
Yeah, well, people like Max unfortunately have gone now, so it's a shame. But Max was the one who booked me for the castle some years ago.
Yeah. Well, Bill, thanks very much. Always good to chat with you.
Thank you.
It's over for the Magic Word Podcast. That was Bill Walsh. This is Scotty out. We just got off the bus there. Again, you just heard us talk with Bill Walsh, who's sitting over here next to me on one side. And we have just, they've opened the theater, and we're going to be getting started here. Oh, goodness, it'll be a while, about another half hour from now. But I wanted to visit with Craig Mitchell again because I know that you love his honest reporting whenever he gives his reviews, whether it's on the Genie Forum or other places. I thought it'd be kind of interesting since I missed this afternoon. I was out having actually recording a podcast that you guys will enjoy sometime in the future. I don't want to spoil who it is that's my guest. But anyhow, I missed this afternoon's thing that was R. Paul Wilson and his friends who were giving a little bit of a lecture. And so, hello, Craig.
Scott, you're still alive.
I am still alive.
Still standing.
And how about you, as far as you've been here for like about 4 days so far?
It's all blurring. But
blurring together.
We're at the finishing line.
There has to be something that now stands out within the blur, and that's probably this guy.
Indeed, it is Giancarlo Scalia from Spain, who was our little sleeper hit at the convention.
Originally from Italy, you said? No?
If we can believe Ian Kendall in his MC introduction, but I think that was Ian getting having a bit of fun with his geography.
License
to have some fun over there. Giancarlo's lecture was, and I'll read from it, simple card miracles for the real world. His material looked fantastic, but it was achievable by us mere mortals.
Yeah.
So some of his ideas were brilliant. Best highlight was his impromptu invisible deck. Absolutely brilliant. Some fantastic material, and it's definitely somebody to look out for. And he had everyone rushing for the stand at the end to go buy his download. So always exciting when you get to see somebody new that you haven't come across who delivers the goods.
Wow. Yeah. And somebody, as you had said, that makes card miracles actually and explains them that they are easier than you think. It's not like Danny D. Ortiz or somebody who's explaining
Exactly. I mean, you're looking at the material and you think, okay, this is incredible. There's obviously some serious sleight of hand going on behind the scenes. We'll just sit back and watch.
Yeah.
And he explains it, and it's like, well, you don't have to memorize the deck.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to be able to do this, which is, I think he's found himself a great niche.
Yeah. Was there someone else that also lectured with him, or was he just the one-off?
It was him and Paul Nardini.
Who was a FISM winner a few years ago?
I believe in 2003 in Den Haag. I had to go check on the FISM website. He won the Comedy Award in 2003.
Right. So and he's from Scotland as well.
Paul Wilson brought all of his Scottish mates with him, it appears. It's the entire UK contingent.
Seems like that was right, yep.
And then before or thereafter, we had the King Cake Surprise Bonus, emceed by
Vinny Grosso.
Vinny Grosso was our MC over there. But
and the surprises were?
There were too many to mention.
There
were lots. But I think the standout memory for this event is probably last night's banquet, which I'm going to remember, as we had the procession of officers, complete with orchestral music, as one would believe that the royal family had now arrived.
Aaron Copland music,
very unique and maybe a little out of touch with modern civilization as we sit in 2023 as everyone comes. I was expecting the chain to be there along with the finery, so it was very novel. So something which maybe S.A.M. needs to reconsider. Well, I think it was very funny. I had not seen it before. And another thing which I think is very humorous, all the officers running around with name badges which are the size of 8x10s stuck to their lapel, which I don't think is necessary when everyone's got a regular name badge.
Exactly. How many name tags do you need?
I don't need to know if we need to know in an 8x10 40-point font that you are the second regional vice president of the second county in Alabama.
As you get a little bit older, it's harder to read. You need a little bit larger font.
That is true. So I thought that was that was fun. A little hawk back.
Did you stick around then last night to, go to the late night burlesque show as well?
I didn't make it until that. Sleep was calling. We'd been up until 1 o'clock that same day with the judge in, which finished at 1. So didn't make the burlesque show, but I'm sure you were there front and center.
No, I was the same way. I was out at 11:30. I was working on the podcast, and I thought, okay, well, I don't think I could make it. I was beat. But I already reported on that. I had Charlie Randall went to here this morning. Ian Kendall this morning was up at 9 o'clock and giving a good lecture. The workshop.
The workshop. We need to discuss with the convention producers. Cardinal rule: no event before 10 a.m. is permissible.
Ian and I had that long conversation.
I felt so sorry for them when I looked at the schedule.
But it was full.
I'm sure it was, but everyone, I think, had matchsticks under their eyes.
He and I were talking about this, and he said, Scott, it's your fault, because in, I think, 2019 at Genie Convention when he was on, and he was supposed to be on in the afternoon, and then Richard Kaufman came to him and said, hey, John Carney's going to bump you, I'm going to have to put you in a different slot. And I had suggested
the coffee slot,
the 8 a.m. slot, and so he thought nobody's going to be there, and they did, such that it was 30 people in the seats in the room, and it was SRO, standing room only, and so the next one they moved him to another room and then to another room.
I think he was the sleeper hit of that event.
That's right, and so I think he's found his niche of a morning magician lecturer, and he packs the room.
I don't know if Paul Wilson was too excited at the concept.
He didn't seem to be. I think he went back to bed.
He never went to sleep, unfortunately.
Okay.
Just kept on going. And now we're about to watch the 8 p.m. gala show.
Yep.
Which should be fun.
And then afterwards we go back to the hotel again. We bus back, and there will be a president's party for the entire group of registrants.
And I assume the official S.A.M. national anthem will then be played.
Probably. They're probably some sort of a royal.
I'm sure there'll be a royal
overture of some
gathering.
sort. Yes. Did you have any of the king cake today, by the way?
It's my first experience with king cake. I didn't have any. I got to watch Scott. I got to watch.
It was delicious. Oh, the expression on my face.
It said it all. I mean, you really look like you were getting into that. Is this a local delicacy, or?
It is actually a New Orleans thing, and the idea is that it has the Mardi Gras colors, of course, and it's called a king cake, which they have during Mardi Gras. It's only during a certain time of the year, specifically. Not tourists. I mean, you can get it other times of the year, but it's really most popular. And when they have Mardi Gras parties at people's homes, they will bring out the cake, and there is a little wee baby in there that is supposed to symbolize the baby Jesus. And so a person
ate baby Jesus.
And so, well, you can't, because if you do, you'll choke to death, because it is a hard plastic thing, and so you can break your tooth.
This is a very disturbing concept.
And so if you happen to get the piece with the baby in it, then you're responsible for bringing the cake then the following year to the next party. So that's the idea.
I'm learning lots about American culture.
But if you bite into that too hard. When you eat a king cake, if the baby has not yet been found, you need to be cautious as you're chewing, or else cut your piece up before you start to.
And this is approved by the FDA, and there haven't been lawsuits.
Let's say sure.
Good to know. Good to know.
But I really loved the king cake. It was nice and moist, and it was some sort of a lemon pudding filling that was delicious. And not too much sugary frosting, which that can really cause a problem, I think. It gets to
magicians and too much sugar. Terrible idea.
On a sugar high. That's right. Well, so we're getting ready to watch this evening show, and as always, good talking with you, and Craig.
Thanks, Scott.
Appreciate your input.
Cheers.
Magic Word Podcast. Again, that was Craig Mitchell. Scotty out.
just finished the evening show, and that was the final gala. And now we are back at the hotel for the annual. Well, I say annual. It's for the President's Party, and you can hear the strains of President John Stirk wafting in the background over there. So he is actually accompanying magicians who are performing with some live music. Right now, I have someone who is almost live, and that's Ian Kendall. Hey, Ian.
Hey, Scotty. How are you?
He was Ian was one who did a workshop for us here this morning, and I always like to talk to some of the talent who was involved with the convention. So, how was it from your perspective as far as the convention?
I was just surprised because I was just sort of asked. I'm here unofficially. I was asked, "Can you do something?" And I was massively underprepared. But in the spirit of everything I did, I just flicked a switch and just waffled for a time. I don't know what I said, but people seem to have liked it, so that worked for me.
Yeah. So it was you weren't really on the bill originally, is what you're saying?
No, I'm not on the bill. It was just kind of like, can you fill in here, please?
So that was what we were talking about earlier, as far as that when you were supposed to be working at Genie convention, and they put you on a certain time, and they said, "Oh, we're going to bump you and put you on. How about 8 o'clock?" So same kind of thing. You just kind of are the very flexible person, easy to get along with. And so if somebody is booking a convention and they want someone at the last minute who is very easy to work with, it'd be you to kind of put in. You know, it's like you're the pinch hitter.
I try to be flexible in life. I think it's much easier if you can be easy to work with and accommodating. But I do prefer afternoon lectures, I'm going to be brutally honest.
Well, I'm sorry. Whenever I saw you on the early morning, I thought, oh, he's doing early morning because he knows his place.
You have tainted my life forever, Mr. Wells.
So, one of the things I was going to talk to you about is you had said before one of the books you got has to do with losing props.
Yes.
And preparing for when you can lose
Yes.
props. And is it really how to prepare or to make sure you have a backup? In other words, should you plan in advance when you're going to lose props in this way that you have a checklist of things, well, I can do this without these props, or what is it?
I honestly think that if you do shows, you need to prepare yesterday, today, now, start now, because when you need it and you don't have it, it is too late. So the whole ethos of the book, the Lost Luggage Show book, is how to prepare and have that safety net so that you don't fear losing props. Nobody wants it to happen, but it does mean you can fulfill your obligations. Because, if you turn up to a cruise ship without your props, the cruise director doesn't care. They're going to want you to do your show. So, and it's in a corporate gig, if you turn up to a corp and you go, sorry, I can't do a show, are you going to get rebooked? Maybe not. Right. So it's an insurance policy. And, you don't wait until after you crash your car before you buy car insurance. So I urge everybody, for the sake of magic and professionalism, get a plan ahead of time. Like
some years ago, I had published or broadcast an episode about making sure that you have a permit for your rabbit. And in getting it, stick with me here. Marty Hahn was the guy, and he was doing a party. Long story short, he found out he was supposed to have this permit for the rabbit he was using. He ended up having to go to an attorney and everything. He had like a 1 minute, or rather a one inch thick kind of a contract that he had to complete. And these things were saying, in the event of a tornado, what do you do with your rabbit? Not just what, in the case of a flood, and what kind of bedding do you use, and when you transport him, the rabbit, what do you do? And it was all these different questions, everything. The point is, he had to be prepared, and things you really don't think about of happening that might happen in the case of a tornado or whatever, like you say with your luggage. But at least he does know that now. And like with you, similarly, I guess what you're suggesting is that you should have a plan for a show, so when your things are lost, here is something I can do, but you can go to the store and buy them, I guess.
That's absolutely right. It's everybody. You always say plan for the unexpected, and so you'll rehearse dropping a prop on stage. You'll rehearse a thread breaking when you're floating something. You'll plan those out. But people don't rehearse what to do if you have no props. And it doesn't take a lot of thought to put together a show or a series of effects that you can do with stuff you get at Walmart or Target or wherever.
I would think, though, if you're going to be traveling, you mentioned like cruise ships, and if something doesn't work out the way that it's supposed to, or that some of your props get lost or something, there is an issue that you may not be able to find some of those props in Jamaica, for an example. They don't have a Costco or something.
That is right. But the idea is, or certainly in my list, is I try and keep the shopping list as generic as possible. So I know that I can get stuff for certain routines in a supermarket in home in the UK, or a Target or a CVS, or even a Kroger or something here. And I've got enough material so that if I cannot find cable ties over there, I can maybe find some insulating tape, and I can still do an escape with that. So it's more a case of having enough of a spread of material that if you can't find A, go and buy B.
Right.
It makes it a little bit harder because you've got to keep a certain number of routines current, because you have to keep these routines current. You've got to rehearse them.
Right.
But yeah, it is a concern that if my friend Danny Buckler, who's an unbelievable comedy magician, went on a 4-week cruise on the Amazon, and his bags never left London. So he did 4 weeks with nothing, washing his underwear in the laundry every night. But Danny is an absolute genius, so he didn't bother about it. But
he put a show together completely from scratch.
Danny can make a show out of thin air. Honestly, the guy's Danny Buckler. He's incredible.
I remember hearing Giovanni Oliveira tell me one time that when he was told his wife that if we were on a beach in our swimming suits and a helicopter comes in, a military helicopter, and these guys comes down and they hold you to gunpoint saying, I'm going to shoot your wife unless you can do a half-hour magic right now. He said, I want you to feel comfortable that you were going to live. Just on a beach with a swim trunks.
Okay. I'm trying to think if I could do that.
Quite a challenge, huh?
I don't know about half an hour. But I could probably do 15 to 20 with not much. That's kind of in the book. We talked about the 3 demo shows. One of them, the third one, is sort of a mind power one. So lots of memory work and magic square stuff like that. I could probably stretch that out to 20 or 30. But hopefully, that one's not going to happen.
No. But you should be prepared. I like what you're thinking. So, just to wrap...
A salt pour with sand. That's what I do.
I was thinking about so much stuff you could do with sand, Okay? I got 1 particle and 2 particles, and I'll add third, As I throw away 3 pieces of sand. So where
Levant lives.
Where can people find your book?
Virtualmagicshow.com.
There you go. Ian Kendall, go check it out. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. I'm glad you liked this adventure.
Always a pleasure, Scotty.
So with the Magic Word Podcast, that was Ian Kendall. Scotty out. Well, again, the party is kind of in full swing right now, but the person that is actually, we wouldn't be a party without this person, because he's kind of Mr. New Orleans. He's been making this whole thing happen, and I feel like that I was missing something, and I think I finally found it, and that is Michael Dardon. Here he is. Hey, Michael.
Hi, thanks so much. Good to see you again.
And you as well, as always. The last time we were just coming back from the 4F convention, and just hanging out at the airport. So you have really been an integral part of putting this together and all the behind-the-scenes things.
I was so honored when the organizers asked me to be a part of this. They came down to New Orleans. Basically, I think it was an excuse for them to come and eat, because we went eat in New Orleans, which Vinny Grosso asked for a vegan meal, and the waiter said, well, we have alligator bites.
Yeah.
So he obviously had no idea, the waiter had no idea what vegan meant. But nonetheless, we had a great meal together, and we discussed what we wanted to achieve for this convention. And I was just so happy to be a part of it, and really so stoked to have magicians come back to New Orleans, because it's been over 20 years since we've had any magic convention at all in this city. And as you know, it is a very magical place.
Right.
So to be able to welcome my peers back to my hometown was such a privilege for me. And I was just so happy to be involved with that. So I produced 3 of the events, including the opening party, that I have an Instagram video of you and me walking before the party even started with our masks on. And that was fun. And we had a great opening party. And then last night I got to produce 2 of the shows, the banquet show, which we had a Cajun theme, and then our late night burlesque show, where I give everybody a taste of life in New Orleans and the type of performance that we do here in New Orleans.
Right.
And I got to feature some of my lovely local talent. Trixie Minx with Minx Productions, Minx Burlesque, and Madame Mystere and Mamie Dame. And we had Dante, one of my favorite magicians who happens to live here in town, who just has an incredible manipulation act. And I felt like my New Orleans family was meeting my magic family. It was wonderful.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, again, I think that your influence was certainly felt here the whole time, and everybody had a lot of really good things to say about everything that, I said, Michael was so funny, and the magic was good, and he was a great MC and everything, so I just heard a lot of really great comments from behind the scenes, too, just to pass on to you.
Thank you so much. And Rod Chow gave me a presidential citation. I have never received one of those before. In New Orleans, if you receive a citation, it usually means you have to go to court and defend yourself.
Because you can't work that corner anymore.
Yeah, because, I've had a suspended license a few times. So a citation, triggered in my, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
In fact, even Big Joe Kennedy, who was the piano player last night in my show, when they told me backstage, well, Rod's going to open, he's going to give you a citation, Big Joe looks at me and goes, what happened? Are you okay? Why? We think of it as a negative thing, but no, a presidential citation is a good thing.
Yeah.
And it means that they're honoring you and giving you a special recognition. And that meant so much to me because, as you know, I've been in this world for a long time, and that meant a lot to me to be recognized for being a part of the world and adding something to this world of magic. And that's all I want to do. They talk about just, leave things better than when you arrived.
Right.
And that's all I want to do is I just wanted everybody at this convention to say, I had fun in New Orleans. That was my main goal. If nothing else, it doesn't have to be the best convention, doesn't have to be the best magic. You don't have to learn the most here. I just wanted everybody to say, wow, we had a great time.
Yeah.
And I think we achieved that.
Well, I think we did. Everybody that I've spoken with seems like that they have really enjoyed the ambiance that is New Orleans. And I've heard someone say, well, it's a lot cleaner than I was expecting it to be also,
we've been a lot cleaner, since the pandemic. I guess, there's a little less traffic going on, but I've been impressed, actually, because I try to avoid Bourbon Street for the most part.
Yeah.
But when I've walked down, I'm like, this actually doesn't look too bad. It's, I used to say that you could give directions to blind people based on sense of smell alone. You just go 3 blocks, and when you smell urine, take a left. And then when you smell vomit, you're going to turn right. It's going to be right there. And really, lately, it's been very clean. I think the city's doing a better job of that. I do wish we would take care of the potholes, so it may take us a few years to get that figured out because I don't know if you've been trying to drive, but sometimes it feels like you just run over a dead body. So now
I've seen signs saying hole.
Just hole, yeah. So and sometimes when there's a hole in the sidewalk, people's solution is to just put a stick in it. And so to warn people, so now if you miss the hole, then you might just impale yourself on the stick.
So doubly bad.
We still have that problem, but you have to remember that we are one giant sinkhole because we are below sea level.
That's true.
So we're going to have problems, and no matter what we do, the roads aren't going to be necessarily as easy to fix as other places, considering the fact that we are essentially a bowl, is how we call it, and we're an island that's in a bowl. Yeah.
Well, it's been a ball at this bowl.
It's been a ball in the bowl. Yeah, absolutely.
We've had some fun. And I just wanted to have a chance to say thank you for everything that you did and your participation and things you had offered. that people, when I say often by experiences, that you have suggested to people? And
I really am looking forward to next year because we're going to go to your home state and visit Dallas, and I think that's going to be a blast. It's going to be a combined convention. I think it's going to be huge. We'll probably have twice the turnout, and of course, being the FISM qualifiers, it's going to be a very important convention. So I really look forward to being a part of that, and I encourage anybody listening to this, don't miss out. If you missed New Orleans, you missed a hell of a party. Don't miss Dallas next year because in the Magic world, it's going to be one to remember.
Yeah, you want to go and sign up for that because it's not only the S.A.M. but the TOM and also the North American Championships for FISM. We've mentioned that several times on the podcast so far, but I just want to remind everybody as well to make sure that you sign up for that. So I'll be seeing you there, and I'll see you a few other places between now and then, too.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we run into each other a lot, so we'll be in
travel in
touch.
the same good circle.
Absolutely.
Good seeing you, buddy.
Thank
So
you
for the Magic World podcast, that was Michael Dardon, man who was bitten by a wizard. Scotty out.
Scotty out.